Hi, Marguerite Bonnett here from eXp Realty. As a realtor, people have been asking me recently, are we headed for another housing crash like we had in 2008? Honestly, there is so much fear out there. I just want to shine a little light into this darkness, okay? In fact, comparing today to 2008 is really kind of like comparing apples to oranges. And I'll tell you why. And this comes from some very reliable sources. Number one, mortgage standards today are nothing like they were back then. I mean, nothing. It was so easy to get a mortgage back then. If you could fog a mirror, you could get a mortgage. I'm just saying. So let's take a look at this chart. This is from the Mortgage Bankers Association, and you'll notice the higher the index, the easier it is to get a mortgage. So you can see that during that housing bubble, that index skyrocketed. But right now, it is more difficult to get a mortgage now than it was before the bubble. So we do not have that problem right now. Number two, prices are not soaring out of control. Even though you may feel like they are sometimes when you go shopping for houses, it is nothing like it was way back then. Take a look at this. This is showing annual house appreciation over the past 6 years. And if you'll compare, back then, 2004, 2005, you can see 12 and 11% growth in prices. That's enormous. But 2019, 4.7%. And normal appreciation for a normal real estate market is 3.6%. And that's a national average. And so are these charts. But we're really not that far above that 3.6%. So we don't have that problem. Number three, we do not have a surplus of homes on the market. In fact, we have a shortage. And if you've been out there shopping for homes, you know that. There is definitely a shortage here in Austin. We are feeling it for sure. So the typical number of months of supply needed to sustain a normal real estate market is 6 months on average. So anything more than that, there's an overabundance of homes and the prices go down. Anything less than that, there is a shortage and prices tend to go up. So take a look at this chart. Back in 2007, we're talking 8.2 months of inventory. There was definitely a glut of homes on the market. But look at today, 3.1 months on average. That is low. We are definitely in a shortage situation when it comes to buying homes. So we do not have that problem of surplus, which is going to drive everybody's prices down. Okay, number four. Back then, houses just became too expensive to buy. There is something called an affordability formula, and it has three components. Of course, it's the price of the home, the wages of the person buying the home, and of course the mortgage rate. Now, back then, the prices were high, but the wages were lower, and mortgage rates were over 6%. If you look at today's situation, prices are still high, but wages are much higher than they were back then, and mortgage rates are at an all-time low. We've just bounced off the all-time low. They're around 3.5% right now. So that is a very different situation. And the way that affects what's going on here is, if you look at this chart, the average family is going to pay less out of their monthly income towards their mortgage payment than they did back then. You can see it was really typical around 2006 that 25% of your income was going to pay your mortgage. And today, it's closer to 15%. That's a substantial difference. So let's look at number five. People are equity rich. They are not tapped out like they were back then. I don't know if you remember back then, but everybody was doing a refi. They were taking all the money out of their house. They were treating their homes like a personal ATM machine and buying who knows what, putting it into the stock market, whatever they did. I guess we've learned our lesson because that's not the situation today. In fact, did you know that over 50% of the homes in the United States have over 50% equity? That's a much stronger position than we had back then. In fact, if you look at this chart of the refis, you can see 2005, 6, and 7, People refied and took out $824 billion out of their equity. In the last 3 years, they've only taken out $232 billion doing refis. Now, that still sounds like a lot, but it's just way, way less than it was back then. So the bottom line is, if you're concerned about whether we're in the same position as we were back then and that we're headed for a housing crash, we're not. That's just not going to happen right now. And do your own research. Talk to people. I hope this has helped alleviate some of your fears, because I know there's a lot of fear-mongering going on right now in the market. And anyway, I hope that helped. And just wanted to say, from my heart to yours, stay safe, stay positive, and if there's anything I can do to help, I'm here for you. Bye for now.